So when I was in high school, I had this car that I bought through a kind of shady back alleyway through a guy that raced cars like these. And so it had this really odd suspension system to it, and it made every pothole in the road just amplified. Like, people stopped driving with me because the drive was so bumpy. Every nook and crevice and hole, you could feel the full extent of it. It was actually kind of comical after a while, but when people stopped riding with me, it made me realize that's why we have shocks in our cars, right? That's why we get cars with the normal suspension, so that we don't have to feel all of those bumps and potholes. And I was thinking about that car a couple weeks ago, and how often I do that with my own life. I kind of pad my life, and to be honest, I often don't enter into the struggle of others or even my own struggle because I don't want to feel the bumps in that road. But from Genesis to Revelation, though, the story of the Bible is this picture of a God who enters into our struggle. In Ezekiel 37, the prophet Ezekiel says that God is not off at a distance, but he sets up camp among the people of suffering. And there's another prophet, a guy named Jeremiah, and he's got this really haunting statement where he says, "You have healed the wounds of my people lightly by declaring peace, peace, where there is no peace." And I got to be honest, I do that all the time. Right? I say things are fine. I pretend that I have it all together, when the truth of the matter is that there's struggle and there's heartache. And I know that that's true for the people around me as well. And I think that it's when we enter into the struggle of one another that we can actually begin to see the beauty of it. It's what helps us put our roots deep down into the soil. It's those desert seasons that help us find out what we're really made of. There actually was a biodome that was built in Arizona years ago, and they were trying to replicate this particular forest. But when they started growing these trees, they were atrophied and thin and flimsy. And what they realized was the reason that these trees didn't grow the way they did in the wild is because there was no resistance. There was no wind. And when we feel that struggle and we allow the wind to actually fully hit us, that's what allows our roots to go down deep. It made me think of my little brother. Our whole family was homeschooled. I'm sure you're shocked, but he was severely dyslexic, and reading just didn't make sense to his brain. And eventually my mom had an idea, and she got this tray that she filled with sand, and he would write letters with the tip of his finger, and all of a sudden it just unlocked it for him. He needed to actually feel the sand on his fingers for the language to make sense. And I think that's honestly the way that we were created, the way that we were wired, is to experience joy, but to also experience struggle, to link arms with brothers and sisters regardless of our life circumstance, and to wrestle and struggle with one another. And I think when we enter into that struggle is when we can finally and truly begin to see the beauty in it.